Hello and welcome to the Animation Kimmunication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode contains some mild adult language.
Hi everyone, welcome to Animation Kimmunication, the first post-Christmas episode, even though we're recording this during Christmas, it's fine. No one will know. Okay, so as usual, I have Lauren with me who is here and totally didn't have to call a search party to find me before this episode.
Send the hounds.
Send the horses or horse pun or something, I don't know.
The cavalry, the rescue squad.
Oh, the Pony Express. Okay, we're done. With us today, which is I guess I probably should have had much earlier, is Crowne Prints, who we go back and she animates stuff and she's pretty neat. So, Crowne, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's me. I'm just a plain old freelance animator living in the freezing cold temperatures of Canada. Blah.
Well, at least you get free healthcare, so.
I mean, we pay for it in our taxes. Hello. Yeah, so it's not free, but also I'm not gonna go
free stuff
bankrupt.
Isn't free. We all know.
Yeah, I know free stuff isn't free.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, but I mean. We're glad to have you on today, especially for any of our followers who have been following you for many years now, or have gone way back into even into the ye old pony days. It's cool to have you here, and yeah, and this is the first time you and I are talking to each other, so this is really cool.
You're making me be embarrassed. I mean, it's funny because I've been doing this for, I don't know when I started. I started off doing this as just sort of a hobby, drawing and animating, when I was in college. And so some people have been following me for 10 years or something. Crazy stuff. I used to do a webcomic called Sin Wolf. And then I end up meeting these people and they become really good friends of mine. So it's just sort of this strange community. The freelance hobby animation community is just sort of strange. We all know each other and there's cliques and I don't know.
Yeah, and especially when it seems like it's 6 degrees of separation from one fandom or another, where it's okay, so these animators all knew each other from this fandom, they were all in the pony fandom, but then there's also these people who worked on Warrior Cat stuff.
I was going to say Warrior Cats. I was going to say Warrior Cats, yeah.
And then it's just it's just the whole 6 degrees of separation where everybody starts crossing paths at some point. Because, I mean, as many animators as there are online, it's still relatively a small community, so
it is,
at some point it's gonna be somebody's gonna cross paths with another person, and it's just that's just how it's gonna be.
I just have flashbacks to that lunch table meme or whatever, where there's different people and it just instead of the geeks and the jocks, it's just the people that came from each fandom. It's they're the past bronies, and they're the Warrior Cats, and they're the people that made Lion King OCs, and it's fine.
Oh my gosh, Lion King OCs.
Super Hulock fandom.
I mean, well, then Lion King came out with Lion Guard, so that got a whole new influx of people. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just starting to get to the age where everything circles back, and there's remakes of things. I mean, it's just funny because you could end up working on a show about something that you loved as a kid.
Yeah.
You could end up making the next Sonic game or whatever. It's just weird. It's weird.
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what happened with the Sonic movie when they had to redesign him, because what's his name got pulled in to basically redesign him because he'd worked on Sonic animations that that Sega had asked him to do or commissioned him to do. What was his name? Tyson Hesse. Hesse. So I was just trying to remember off the top of my head. But yeah, he started out pretty much making Sonic fan art, and then now look at him, and he's freaking king of the world with the Sonic movie. Which, who knows, at this point, with how many other movies were released theatrically, as everyone's going to say, how much do you want to bet that Sonic's going to walk away with a bunch of Oscars next year?
God.
I'm ready for the memes.
So, but yeah,
that's
he
how
started
Lauren
off as an online animator too.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's how Lauren and I started talking like the original time, because like even though last BronyCon was a personal shit show for me, like I think Chrissy mentioned offhand that Lauren had like her own Lion King OCs, and I'm gonna embarrass Lauren, but she's made.
I mean, it's not so much embarrassing as it is the truth. I did.
No, it's just funny. It's funny. Like when I watched Lion King, I didn't know what an OC was. I was watching and drawing anime back then.
Yeah, it's the olden days of when you would make like I think I had like a wolf one at one point when I was like 13, and then it's just I was 12.
My favorite is
one.
she's Lion King OC the Beatles, which is fun. So
Hey, once you have a fandom touch the Lion King, it's just
everything the light touches.
Everything
no,
is
listen,
everything is
anything any fandom touches is like
everything the Lion King light touches becomes light.
I just have flashbacks to like 2015 where like everything was getting ponified, and
I mean even now it's funny because I don't know, I have to look. Let's see what I mean. Whenever the last BronyCon was when the fandom kind of just went. It's still active, and I still do a lot of horse art, like so much horse art for people on commission basis, but like I don't know, it's just weird how long those things can stick around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been part of people's identities for so long that, they kind of just don't really know what to do after. And then, like, when we were into horses, we never thought it'd be over because it was just such a
I mean,
big deal.
I did, but...
I know, but, like,
I'm just a couple of years older than a lot of my friends from that fandom.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I guess like we knew it would be over like someday, but like it just was like the hype kept building and building.
10 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not like dwindling away. 10 solid years of content.
Yeah.
And then it's weird because it's a springboard for a lot of independent animators too. I'm laughing because this was not what we thought we were going to be talking about at all on the podcast, but whatever.
It's like
somewhat relevant.
It's like when people like each other, it's like the conversation's organic, so it's fine. Okay, so and then I just want to like state because like Crowne and I like have talked like on and off like for the past like 8 or 9, well whatever, a long time. And like
I don't know when it was a long time. Beginnings of Pony. Basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I just like I remember like this is when I didn't know how to animate, and so like she gave me it was for a gag where like I was a princess or something like that, and she gave me the frames, and she's like, you can animate it yourself, and I'm like, no, that seems like work, and you're like, okay.
Oh, that's right, I have that somewhere still. I have everything that I've done. I keep it all backed up.
So yeah, I just want to state for the record, I've taken 2 2D animation classes, so now I know how to animate. Yay. Okay.
I still don't know how to animate. Like, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm just now beginning to not suck.
It's all about frame rate, essentially, like frame rate and timing, and I try to not think that physics is involved, but it is like a little bit depending on like the weight of like what you're animating. Anyway, we won't get too technical. People will get bored. So anyway, do we have any news, Lauren, before we just like start like talking and not shutting the fuck up?
Yeah, we have a couple headlines, and I guess technically they did happen pretty recently anyway. Pardon me. Well, we can say that Warner Brothers did announce that their entire film slate for 2021 is going to be released simultaneously in theaters and on video on demand and streaming. So that includes like the Tom and Jerry movie and stuff like that that's coming out next year.
Yeah, I think that was a good move.
Yeah, I mean, the downside is another potentially fatal blow to the theater industry, but this also means that, that more studios are going to be probably moving in that same direction, which they pretty much already are. And they're just going to keep moving that direction. But we'll see. I mean, I feel like we still need to keep theaters around. Maybe not as many, but we do need to keep theaters around, because there are certain movies where the effect isn't the same without seeing it on a big screen. It's not the same,
but we still have drive-in theaters here.
Yeah. That's why I think there's going to be a resurgence of drive-in theaters in Southern California in particular, because of the weather. It permits for a lot more of that more often. So we may be able to see more of that. I know old swap meets are turning back into to drive-in theaters as of late, by even if it's in little sprinkles. But so we'll see. We'll see if more pop up. I think it'd be cool to have them back in bigger force.
Don't you guys, Lauren,
I'm really nervous for anybody working in, not in the film industry, but specifically with physical box location movie theaters. You guys are in for a tough run, I think, over the next over the next century, let's say. I may be probably faster than that. I'd say 50 years, because people are kind of we're all moving to VR and digital and all this other stuff. It's the same as when we lost all of the movie rental places. You didn't need to rent movies anymore, so those are all gone. And bookstores. Yeah. But, Canada, we're, 10, 20 years behind everybody, so we still have bookstores.
In Soviet Russia.
We still have drive-in movie theaters. At least out where I am. I'm in a really isolated part of the country, so.
Okay, I was just it sounds like that's perfect for an artist who hates being around people, so,
It's great. There's mostly rocks and trees. Yep.
You can go out and do some scenery drawing, get some stuff from nature or whatever.
You say that, but I never do it. I should. I live near one of I don't know. I live near all this amazing landscape, and I never go out and do live drawing. I don't even draw by hand anymore on paper, even though I enjoy doing it. But it's I got to get the paper out, and I get the easel out, and then it's just so bleh. So it doesn't happen.
Meanwhile, I can't help but wonder, and it's just because I do want to go to visit Canada someday, and especially just to see the landscapes, because it's just gorgeous, and I love just animals, obviously. So it's just I'm do you ever get any wildlife around your place like that? Do you?
Are you kidding? There was a bear. There was a bear digging through our green bin, which is recycling for food. Last year, and there's a family of bears that live in the fields over there. There's eagles that fly overhead. The eagles have a nest along the river that's a 5-minute walk from us. There's constantly the size of the ravens here. They're small dogs. They're huge. I don't know what's going on.
Ravens even here are big in Southern California, because I do get ravens in Southern California. Yeah, they can get pretty massive, but I can only imagine if they're huge up in Canada.
They're huge, and they're fascinating. I've never been so fascinated by a specific type of bird before. They pair up together, and then they dance around in the snow, and I don't know. I like watching them.
They're very smart.
Yeah, they are very smart, and they have a tongue that lets them speak. You can train them to talk.
You can train them to say nevermore. That's as much as I know.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I just
just had to ask.
I just get flashbacks to LA before coronavirus, and my parents came to visit me for my birthday, and they were just you have the beach, and you have the mountains, and you got all this nice areas to hike in. You hike, and I'm nah, I stay in my apartment and don't really go outside.
Gosh. I walk a lot. I'm the opposite. I walk a lot.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's when I appreciate when weather gets really nice and I can just go out for even a little walk. So it's and what bums me out is there's all these other places around me that they manage to keep them open, but because they're basically parks. That's what they are. And so you just walk out into these parks, and there's plenty of wide open spaces you can socially distance and all that stuff and be totally fine. And they still have to shut those down because freaking LA can't get its shit together, I guess.
The problem is it only takes one person, but I don't know if I want to get into all of that mess.
Yeah,
Everything's
but
so messed up.
Yeah, but either way, it's like, it's so nice to have, like, there's like all these areas where because of the climate, all of this nature just flourishes, and it's just nice to see. But yeah, it bums me out when I can't go out and see it, but it's, you know.
I mean, at this point,
permitting.
we're talking like a year into this pandemic stuff, and Canada has been taking it a little bit differently, and this region in particular has sort of shut off from the other parts of Canada too. So at this point, like we're talking right now, I'm slightly crazy. Like I have not left the house basically all year. All the vacations got canceled. All of the family events got canceled. Christmas, we're just gonna sit at home. We'll have already have done it by now and eat. I bought $50 tubs of ice cream and just packed the freezer with it. That's what I'm doing this holiday. I'm eating ice cream.
Ice cream party for one.
I mean, to be fair, it sounds like at least Canada's taking it more seriously versus here. It's just like, it's a political issue.
It's partly political, but it's also partly just density of human population. We only have 10% of the population of the United States. So it's like not as many people, a lot fewer people.
Yeah, that's weird
a lot
to
more
think
spread
about
out too. But yeah, so anyway, oh, sorry, I do have the other headline.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Going through these.
Next news line.
Is that, which is, I mean, not exactly a happy one, but I guess we figured it was going to come eventually, was Ducktales just confirmed that it's going to end in 2021, probably towards the end of the year. It broke through a Twitter leak because somebody decided to spill the beans. And it wasn't, I don't think it was even a crew member, but then
it was, I think it was someone close to the crew who knew.
Yeah, but it wasn't like an official crew member.
I didn't realize that was a leak.
Yeah, so the fandom freaking erupted until Disney had to make a statement saying, it's basically it's confirmed it's gonna be finishing up in 2021.
How many seasons did it get? I have not actually watched it.
This will only make it 3
list.
seasons.
3? That's a sin. Like I hear it's amazing. I haven't actually watched it yet. Like we've been watching.
It is very, very good. And at the very least, we'll still be getting a Darkwing Duck spinoff, which I'm assuming is based in the same universe. If the special was any indication, because they did have a Darkwing Duck, I think 1 hour special episode. Basically establishing the characters and the dynamics between them all and laying the groundwork for the series going forward. So, yeah, at least we'll have that, hopefully.
I guess. Like, is there a reason it's getting canceled or, you know?
Well, let's just say anything that gets moved to Disney XD dies.
Oh, no.
And because no new episodes they didn't transition the show to just Disney Plus, which honestly, they just should have done that from the get-go. They would have been getting more viewership that way, but I don't, they were trying to figure stuff out in the first year, right? So
yeah. That's why I couldn't figure out, like, Owl House didn't go to Disney Plus, and we all wanted to watch it, but we couldn't watch it because it wasn't... Just put it... you make a streaming service, put your shows on it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially when Disney obviously are trying to transition everything over to Disney Plus, which means, I think I did hear that in some regions, some countries are actually going to be shutting down Disney Channel for those regions, and so they're basically trying to close up the cable stuff pretty much, so just so they can move it all to Disney Plus and make it more accessible that way, because cable's kind of dying. Has been for a while.
Gosh, I can't even believe people still use cable. I mean, I don't know.
Just like, that's the sad thing though, is that everything that goes to Disney XD, that's just the death sentence for any show that's gone there.
That's strange.
Especially all the good ones. So it's like, I think the same thing happened, I swear, for like When you think of like Star Versus, you think of Gravity Falls. Well, Gravity Falls, what the benefit was is that Alex already had the end in mind, and he
that's
was like,
different.
I already did what I wanted to do, but it still did get moved to Disney Plus or Disney XD. So I mean, it was just like, thankfully, I think Alex is just like, I already know how I'm going to wrap this up, so it's not going to get that axe. It's just going to end on its own terms, and then I'll leave it at that.
I was gonna say I know a lot about this, so I can flex real quick.
Okay,
so I don't know if they still have it. I guess it's dependent, but Disney has this rule called the 65 episode rule, where usually it's 3 seasons, and it's like that's like around the golden number for syndication, because I think that's like if you air 1 episode every weekday, I think that's like 2.5 months worth of content or something like that. So usually shows, like, unless they're canceled in the first season or something, they're predetermined to end around that. So I think that's what happened to Ducktales, because I don't think like it was doing particularly bad. Like, I don't know how Disney is judging its success these days, like if they're still doing ratings or they're doing like Disney Plus
they
views,
pretty much
or...
I imagine they still run off of the metrics of it. So in terms of like, you still have people watching online and stuff like that, and then sometimes they'll air episodes, the sprinklings here and there for free, and then to entice you to watch the rest of the show. And then there's people who have maybe collections already, and then there's they're trying to gauge it off of people who have also like maybe even pirated and ripped episodes, so that affects viewership in that regard too. So I don't know, but the way I see it is that they were trying to gauge it off the old metrics, which is
bad.
Looking at cable. So and so it's like if they had it just to focus on Disney Plus, if they'd just done that and done it episode by episode, released like they're doing their other shows like Mandalorian and stuff, they would be faring a lot better, I feel. Especially because then it'd be still treating it like a syndicated show, like with a schedule and everything.
Yeah,
and you'd gauge viewership that way.
That's what I was gonna add, was that it's. Cause I was wondering since I haven't tried Disney Plus, I don't know. They're still releasing stuff episode by episode versus the other method, which is to release chunks at once. Yeah. So like it's just interesting because the whole nature of distribution is shifting when you can just drop a chunk of episodes all at once. Like that's how Netflix seems to do it.
Yeah, it depends on the show.
So like this whole idea of measuring things versus like, oh, let's air it every day at the specific time. Well, you don't even need to do that anymore. You can just, give content for people to binge. I'm not sure which I would suggest. Like, I certainly would not be publishing binge content, because then people binge it and they have to wait a few months until they get the next set.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, it's different when you have a show that's already been around for years and then you just suddenly drop.
That's different.
All the episodes, obviously, but with something brand new like what you'd happen with Mandalorian and stuff. And if they had gone down the route of like maybe they aired the first 2 season and a half maybe on TV, and then they decided to continue it onto Disney Plus. I don't know, but again, they were trying to gauge off the first year of running the service, just to see if it was even going to be successful. Which, I mean, I had no doubts, but it all depended on what they were going to release, and how much they were going to put on there. And so far, it's been way, way worth the money. So, I mean, it's been really good. So, I mean, they're trying to gauge it again off of what they used to gauge it off of in the past, which was off of cable viewership, and that's just dying out. So I think they've now learned from this from all of this, and they're trying to transition over to something where it's like if it's all on Disney Plus, they can keep track of it there, and if they see that people are talking every week or every other week or whatnot for a season of The Mandalorian, then they're going to do the same for other shows that they know have a following. Like Ducktales has a huge following. There's a lot of people that follow it, and I see fan art on my Twitter log every single day for Ducktales, and it's like, and I'm not even the one that's like making art for the fandom or anything.
I mean, to
So
be
it just-
fair,
it
Lauren,
just-
you do
it's
follow
there.
like a lot of people on Twitter.
I mean, yeah, I do follow a lot of people, but it just,
No,
but I
that's-
mean, even then, it's
yeah.
like it just shows up. Like people will, there's just a lot of people will retweet content and stuff like that, and the writing is so freaking good for Ducktales. Like, if anything, that seems to sell it even more. It's kind of like how Phineas and Ferb. Like, if you have really solid writing, then that's why people will keep coming back more than anything. It's because the animation is also really, really good. But I mean, it's like if you're looking at people who are trying to get to a message and stuff, then obviously they're going to look at how it's written and how the show conveys character arcs and character stories and stuff. And DuckTales has done really, really well with that. And so it's that's why so many people were upset when they announced that it was coming to an end.
It
Like,
still
what the heck?
surprises
It's
me.
getting good.
I
It's
know
getting even better.
the fan art, like the fan art I've been seeing, because again, I'm not like following any specific DuckTales artists, but I see it all the time. So then I saw the thing like, oh yeah, we're done. Like the show's gonna wrap up after 3 seasons, and I go, are you kidding me? Like when you get a fandom like that, you drag it out as much as you can. I mean,
Yeah, milk
don't
it for
release
all
it
it's
all
worth.
at once.
I don't mean
you
to
know?
say.
Like it doesn't even matter. I'm not even talking about money. Like if you happen to make a set of characters that get everybody excited, my gosh, yes, you keep making stuff with them. Are you crazy?
I mean, what do you think SpongeBob's been doing for the past 20
Oh God.
years?
I
Don't
mean,
even
I
get me
haven't
started.
watched SpongeBob since but since like the first few seasons. But yeah,
I mean, SpongeBob
no.
is Nickelodeon's Mickey Mouse. They're going to like,
Basically,
make
yeah,
sure they
yeah.
push as much content as possible for the company and for that because especially with the character that is just again
It's just
like, loving
iconic.
and
It's like
likable.
Sonic.
And
You gotta
iconic, yeah.
iconic Sonic. You keep using it like Spyro, all these other things that are being brought back that were successful. I mean, just I guess reboot it until you die.
Like the song from the new Animaniacs.
Animaniacs.
Oh gosh.
Reboot it, reuse it.
It does kind of make
Great.
you like it just kind of make you appreciate a good original show. Like Owl House is one that I really liked seeing recently because there are so many reboots and the temptation even for a big franchise to reuse its own characters is so strong. I mean, not to mention like all of us who spend our time making fan art and parodies and things. Cuz if you do this, I'm sure you know how frustrating it is to compare the statistics of viewership on your original stuff versus on something that's a parody.
Yeah.
It's just like really disheartening. So, I mean, yeah, we complain about it, but you can't tell me that Disney isn't doing the same thing by using the characters that already exist to just, build more
it's like a
story for
human
them.
nature thing. It's like you want to, like I talked about this in the Animaniacs review that I did, but like people are already invested in the thing that you're making. So, you're going to have more hype as you're making it versus like Disney greenlights an original show and they're just like, oh, okay, whatever. But if they like greenlight something you care about, you're like, and then, like all the, like, it's like, it's doing press, like, by making the show. So, people just like what they already know they like. So
Right. Yes, I know.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I will never let go of that sentiment because it's true. Because when people find something, they find comfort in the familiar. So and especially in a year where so much change has happened, 2020 just too much change has happened. That's why so many people, I think, especially were upset when you had something like, for example, when Apple TV pretty much was going to be taking all of the Peanut specials and we weren't going to be getting them on regular date and regular like primetime television for the holidays. That was originally what was announced, and then they basically caved and said, okay, we'll still have them on like CBS playing on Christmas Day or whatnot and Thanksgiving Day, and then we'll even have them viewable for free on our service for a limited time. But I mean, when it was a tradition for years, 50-something years, and then you suddenly take that in the year that's taken away already so much. And all people want are like, well, here's the few constants. At least we'll still have Peanut specials on TV for the holidays. And then they take that away. Like one of the few good little things that people hold on to every year as a tradition. So it's like, yeah, again, it's nostalgia sells. It's comfort in the familiar.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's, I mean, I've said this before, but, you know, that's why I'm really excited about, you know, how, like, streaming service is going to change the landscape for, like, renewing shows, and, like, everything's getting renewed. And, you know, like, it's weird because I always thought, like, Disney hated Kim Possible because I was just like, no, make more. But, like, in reality, they liked it enough to, like, make a bunch of games about it. And then, you know, when Disney Plus dropped, that was, they automatically had the whole series, versus, like, there's some series like Aladdin and the old Buzz Lightyear that still hasn't been dropped at all. And I'm just like, what's going on? What are you doing? Like, so
give me Star Command, or give me, okay, not Death, but give me Star Command.
yeah, so it might have to do with the new, like, Chris Evans Buzz Lightyear or something like that. But, like, even still, like, it's already made. You might as well, like, put it on there. And, like, it's a Star Wars legend, but, like, for Buzz Lightyear mythology, I guess. I don't know.
Because technically, Buzz Lightyear Star Command was supposed to be, it was supposed to technically be a show that existed in the same universe, and they established that in the pilot film, is that it's a show that exists in this, as a product in the same universe as Toy Story. It's just like a Saturday morning cartoon that plays in their universe. So what we're doing is we're watching their Saturday morning cartoons. So it's a whole other level. And but that's why it's like, I don't know, I can still see like the new Lightyear movie being its own thing anyway, because so it wouldn't have to contradict what is in Star Command. It's because Star Command exists entirely to be just a product to sell the toys, and that's what's really funny. And then, but it's fully aware that it is what it is.
Yeah, we could get really meta.
Doesn't take itself
like,
too seriously.
Yeah, we can get really meta and like film theory about, like, you know, is this the spin-off that, like, the Toy Story universe executives weren't paying attention, and then, like, the new Buzz Lightyear is, like, the main I don't know. Okay.
Nah, the studio's just
on.
making fan fiction of its own IP. I mean, basically, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about?
And we're going to talk about online animation because, hey, see, we were talking about it earlier, and I told
then
you
we
were going to
forgot.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
it's not that we
theme...
forgot. We were going to work our way back around. Time is a circle.
We were going to talk about a multi-animator, like, we were going to talk about collabs, I think.
Yeah.
Was the plan.
So,
but, like, I'm here. Do whatever you want.
Yes. I was going to say, when did you first start working as part of, I guess you could say, like, an online production team, or at least working with other people in animated projects?
And also, define what a map is, I guess. People are like, what is that?
Yeah, that map, not the other map.
I know. Okay, listen, I gotta say this right now, but multi-animator project is a word. We had this word first. The rest of you get out. I don't want to hear anybody else complain anytime I talk about, hey, I'm hosting a collab. I don't want to hear anybody complain about, ew, that means a gross thing. No, we had the word first. You make up a different word for your weird thing that nobody wants to be involved in. Like, I'm not going to make up an acronym that is Disney about some horrible thing. So, no, you can't get confused about this. Anyway, multi-animator project. Because of this stupid political thing, I've stopped using that term. I just use collab now, which sucks, but okay, sure, whatever.
But yeah, when did you first start working as part of, like, a collaborative
and, like, also,
project?
how do they generally work, you know, comparatively to, like, you just, like, ask your friends and, like, yo, guys, let's do the thing, you know, it'll be fine.
All of the questions at once. Okay, so I am more of, like, a solo artist, and I hadn't gotten too involved in collab projects before, so this is a little weird, but I started hosting them before I'd even joined one. So
as you do.
Yeah, as you do. I mean, I think, though, I had, like, made stuff for other people as part of the, like, hey, could you make this for my project? And I go, sure. And I'd make it and send it to them. But that's a little different than organizing one or being a part of one that is receiving constant feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the traditional map Map. This just makes me think of Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, that was my first instinct. But go ahead.
But the traditional, quote unquote traditional, I don't know how new these things are. Like the term is fairly new, I'd say in the last 10 years, and it probably stemmed out of like AMVs, animated music videos. But the idea is that you get a bunch of animators together and you all animate a little tiny segment of a song. And then you put all of those pieces together and you have a full video. So that's the traditional version. I started doing crazy stuff like, hey, let's all draw an expression and I'll take all of those faces and put them into a video and make something. So it's not like you need to do a specific thing to host a collab, but the one everybody knows is there's a piece of music and a bunch of animators make something and you put it all together and you get a thing.
So like I guess my first like legitimate question is, I imagine a bunch of like, kids are going around saying like, let's do a map. And then like, it's hard to like similar problem with us before, I guess we're like, I mean, it's still a problem, but like, how do you like assure the people that, the thing will actually get done versus just like, yo, this is a great idea. And then like, it dies. Cause I'm sure you've seen those around like your circle.
So many of them. I mean, in general, like everybody sees a lot of collabs and projects that don't get finished. It doesn't even have to be an animation thing. It's just, I don't know how to explain this, but at least I have an instinct for when I know a project is not going to get enough people to be finished. Or, like some of the red flags are the organizers never done it before. They don't have very clear instructions. Their English isn't that strong. They have a very small following. They don't have any stuff on their channel, and they've never produced anything before. Sometimes people make separate channels for their collabs, and then if you go and look at the organizer's channel, they've never done anything and haven't made anything. So these are just kind of red flags. For a project that's likely to not get enough people. Like,
go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say like what I usually do is like so like our team is a little different. That I mean, for the most part, it's pretty solid now because like it seems like everyone who does things likes it, so you don't really have to hire that often. But like usually if something comes up, like we have more flexibility and someone else can like take over or do a part or something like that. But, I guess it just, like, it also depends on, like, the mindset of the people that are also volunteering. Because, like you said, if there's not really any, like, it just reminds me of all the pony projects that are just, like, we're going to make, like, a full like, feature animated movie. And I've said this before, but I'm like, yeah, sure, Jan, you're going to do that. So, like, I always would get mad when they got, like, panels for conventions and just, like, they have what, like, maybe, like, 8 minutes of, like, unfinished animatic at that, if they have something to show. So, and
that's another red flag, though, is, but this is kind of a thing where is if you're not that experienced, you probably won't recognize it, but it's very obvious to me and to anyone who's been drawing for a long time or has been involved in, like, collaborative projects for a long time. It's pretty clear if someone is overstretching what they can actually accomplish. Like, let's make a 2-minute video over a song that already exists versus let's make a 30-minute video with all original music. Like, you really need a strong director to pull something like that off. Like, really. But, a 2-minute video with a bunch of friends is something totally doable, especially if you lower your bar of quality and let various people participate. So it's like hosting a collab versus participating in a collab are two very different questions.
Right.
Like I could talk, I want to make a tutorial on how to host these things, but it's like the more I participate in them and the more I do them, the more I learn. So at this point I could make a pretty solid tutorial, but there's a lot of information.
Yeah, let me know, because I'm sure I'm like I can yell at people too, if you want that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's also like dependent, on people's just general. I mean, we've talked about this before in like I think in the behind the scenes like team episode. If you care, the viewer, that's who I'm talking to. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's like making sure you're not biting off more than you can chew, and the only the only things that I've seen where like someone says like let's remake a full movie is like the Shrek Retold stuff, and like half of that, or not, maybe like a good portion of that is just people in live action in really bad green makeup like reenacting the scenes, which is a lot easier than animating everything. So, you know, I guess it's possible if, you know, it doesn't have to strictly be animation. It can kind of just be like whatever you want, like someone with their cell phone and like some green paint. It's fine. So
that's what I kind of liked about Shrek Retold was that it left it open-ended as to what you could do with it, with whatever segment you had.
It was just like a huge meme, basically. But I'd have to look to be sure, but I'm pretty sure the people organizing that project had either participated in or been involved in previous collaborations, so they knew how to make things work, right?
Especially with like literally hundreds of people.
I think also too, so for the Shrek, I think it's like Shrek Fest or something like that they were doing before, and they kind of grouped the collab around this, but they hosted like a Shrek con, but not a con in a park.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
Shrek Fest is a thing.
I guess it like that's where, you know, I gauge, unless there was someone in the crew that, or someone like running that, you know, actually had some like experience with, you know, media stuff. But, you know, if you can run a con, I imagine, like, it's somewhat similar as far as, like, making sure all your positions are filled, making sure the people are qualified, like, you know, making sure, like, the people that you find are up to the task, which is, like, really important, because I think a lot of times when, you know, you ask someone and, you know, they're excited or they know who you are, they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe Senpai noticed me. But in reality, you know, if they're working a full-time job, or, you know, they've never done this before, they're not really active or, you know, vocal about, like, how do I do the thing, then they'll probably just, fizzle off and die because they're ashamed that they can't get the thing that Senpai asked. I don't know. It's a lot of, like, politics in the way that, like, communication and, you know, like, keeping an eye on specific things. So, yeah, so, like, Crowne...
Number one thing to know, people will quit, people will people will halfway finish, people will not meet the deadline. You could tell them, you could beat them over the head and say, if you don't join unless you can get it done. And they'll join anyway, and they won't get it done. Because stuff happens in people's lives. So just, if you're going to organize something, know for a fact that you will need to find replacements. 100% of the time, there's always at least one person, and it doesn't matter how small the collab is. There's always somebody who doesn't follow through, no matter how much you bug them. And they're like, yeah, I'm doing it. I've got this far. And then the deadline rolls around. The video needs to be out. And so then you have to fill in that sudden gap.
It's like you need to have like backup plans. So you literally have to just be ready for anything.
I'll tell a secret, which is that whatever the actual deadline is, I always tell everybody the deadline is 2 weeks before the actual deadline. Because there will be someone who drops out by the deadline. They didn't get their stuff in. The computer crashed and deleted the whole thing, whatever. And then I have 2 weeks to find an emergency animator so that that project can be released. It's just extremely frustrating when everybody who participated is done, and it's done except for that one little 3-second bit, and you gotta, so.
I feel. So out of your, like, so I guess it ranges for me, but, like, in your experience, is it usually, like, a real life, like, legitimate, like my hours got upped at work and I literally can't finish it? Or is it, like, more general incompetence, like, I don't know.
Because the thing is, I do application process, and I have big, like, oh gosh, I haven't hosted a collab this year just because it's so much insane amount of coordinating hours. Just like, I mean, I've spent like 20 hours just going through the applications. It's I've hired people to do this for me just because it's so tedious. But since I have a lot of people to choose from, general incompetence is not a thing I come across. It's always somebody in the family died, my project file got, collapsed and I didn't back it up, or I have to work more, or I just can't make this. Most people will tell you earlier on if something like that happens, like, oh, I took a studio position and I have to go work at that now. That's fine. But general incompetence is not something I deal with because I eliminate it at the start.
Yeah.
Having an
Right.
application lets you see, okay, these people, they don't have that much experience, and they, you can kind of tell. This is weird, but when you look at somebody's channel, YouTube channel, for example, you can kind of tell if they're able to produce something and finish it and be done,
Right.
and how quickly. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like looking at a resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always joke because, like, we try to, when we do need to hire, we usually use, like, job sites now because I'm not as stupid as I used to be. So people have, like, the people who are on the job sites already have the expectations that they're looking for a job, whether, like, you post it on YouTube. Like, for artist things, it's a little bit more flexible, but for something that requires a little bit more hours or a little bit higher of a commitment, then, you're not going to go on, like, someone's YouTube channel to look for that stuff unless you just kind of happen to be at the right place at the right time. But, I don't know where I was going with this. I don't know, it just, yeah, like, oh, I remember. So a lot of times, I was talking to Riddle about this, like, a couple of days ago, or maybe like a week ago, but there's people that, like, so when we are doing stuff, like, you need a resume because everyone can, like, swear under the sun. They can they can animate, they can edit, like, they can, I have Windows Movie Maker, and I'm like, no, that's not what I said. And but a lot of times, or sometimes, like, you'll get, like, their actual editing, like, portfolio is like an hour of them playing with trains with their phone, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, and it's bad quality, or, like, it's like their whole video is just like a really bad, like, hot take on a YouTuber, and it's just so salty, and I'm just like, why would you put that there? And, like, why would you do that if you want me to, like, trust you? Because, like, to handle the responsibility, because, like, that's at the end of the day, like, that's why you just kind of get friends and you get people that and that you can depend on. But when you kind of have to go outside your little bubble, it's kind of like you get scared as far as, like, even if they have, like, a really amazing portfolio too, it's just a lot of it's just like, discipline and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, like, there's a lot of hobby artists and stuff who do amazing work, but if you told them, I need a piece of artwork in 2 weeks, they would not be able to do it. Like, yeah. And so that sort of thing is harder to judge if you're, like, hosting a collab and trying to pick out who. I mean, for most people, the bigger problem is going to be finding that pool of people to work with to begin with. And I think, like, participating in multi-animator projects helps you get to know other people who are also doing this and part of the community.
right.
And then you kind of know, like, you make friends with them and you start to build a network of people. And then when you want to host something, you already have people to select from. Because I've seen a lot of projects where, like, the person knows what they're doing, but they don't have any contacts. So, like, they can't get enough people to fill all the slots.
Yeah, it kind of made me think, like I do remember one of your multi-animated project was people who were animating for the first time. Like, how was it organizing something like that where you had nothing to go off of originally? So, like, when they're animating for the first time, how did you gauge something like that? Because I love that idea, though, because I loved the collaboration that I saw there, and so I was really intrigued, like, for something like that.
That specific one, I'm going to look up, I'm going to dig through my documents here real quick. I think it's is it under sharing? Yeah, collabs. Okay, so that one is interesting because I hosted 2 collabs at the same time, which, oh my gosh, I'm never doing that. But the idea was that I hosted one collab. I think that was it might have been the split screen one, or was it the snakes one? I don't remember. But one of them was for people who had already animated before and knew what they were doing. And then the other one was for the pool of people I always get who are beginners and want to try it for the first time. Because I really would rather not have their first attempt be in a higher quality project.
Yeah.
But, so to kind of, I guess, self-select people into 1 or 2 pools, I created something specifically for beginners. And let's see if I could find the application thing. I think what I asked for was people's social media or artist handles, because a lot of them had already been drawing. They just had not animated anything. So I could look and see the types of drawings they were doing, and then if I had their social media, I could see how frequently they posted and how professional they were, type of thing. And there were a lot of people. Again, like I had 400 or something people to choose from.
Where do you go to get your pool?
I create an application and then I put the link on the video that tells, hey, this project is, it says, hey, this project is open. It lists all the rules. And then it says, fill out this application form. And I just use Google Docs, or not Google Docs, Google Forms, which is tied to a spreadsheet. And all of the information that people submit goes into the spreadsheet. And I have a couple questions in there. And also, like, when they send it in, there's an agreement. Like, hey, when you sign up for this project, you agree that I'm allowed to use your creation in the video, right? So it covers all the stuff all at once. And then I don't have to ask people to worry about that anymore. First time animating. Okay, so I have the form here. This was a while ago. I think I hosted this last year. This looks like October. I was last in here. Okay, so yeah, I asked for the contact information. I asked what type of animation they planned on making, because that helps me make sure there's a variety of animation types in the collab and it's not all just 2D stuff. So I can get things like stop motion, 3D, and hybrid. So that's been a really useful question. And this one was different because instead of telling them you have to pick a section of the music and then that's what you're going to animate, all I wanted was for them to make a very simple animated loop. And then I put all the stuff to the music for them on my end. Because that's like the level of thing. If you've never animated before, make a little animation like someone blinking or someone walking, and just that's all you have to do. Yeah. So I made it as easy as possible for a beginner, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically how I went through it, is I asked for their link to where you post your art online. So they made art, they'd posted it online before, so that made me know that they knew how to, upload art to begin with.
Oh, God, yeah.
But then that also let me look and see, okay, the quality of the artwork. So that's kind of how I did it, versus just blindly saying anyone who has never animated before. Because it wasn't you've never drawn before, it was you've never animated before. Yeah. Because there's so many people, like really good quality artists, and they just think, I want to try animation, but I'm afraid. So this was the impetus to, okay, you're going to make something right now.
Go.
And what I like to see is when so many people actually, even though they've never animated and were at one point afraid to try, is that when some of them do animate, it's almost like some of them actually have like an innate understanding of animation, and they just didn't realize that they. I guess they kind of realized, through observation, if I like watching animation, I kind of picked it up, kind of thing. Or sometimes it just comes to them, and it's like, it's really cool though when you can see that happen, and then it's almost like seeing, oh, look at that, you had your potential there. See, you knew it was in you, it was inside you all along, and you just didn't know it. Yeah, I think one of those best testing grounds is like seeing people put animatics together, and they just think, oh, if I sync it up to the song and just like storyboard it out, I'm like, that's still technically animation because you're trying to figure out how things land within timing. So
yeah. I was gonna say it does the opposite though too, which is that, and this is something that I'm a really big advocate for, which is, don't assume that because you like drawing, you're going to like animation too. So you should try it first. So that was kind of like, okay, well then just try it, and then you'll see, wow, this is really tedious and annoying, and I don't ever want to do it again. Or, actually, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, I think like one of the things I personally love animating whenever I get the chance to, and it's something I remember even in school I loved doing it, was animating lip sync. Anytime there was an opportunity to do it, I wanted to do it, because then it's like it's focusing on the face or something, or just conveying emotion. But if it's something like a run cycle, I mean, while I can do it, it wasn't something I enjoyed anywhere near as much as doing like an acting performance through lip sync. Yeah. So it depends on, and so even then, and then it's just it depends on the person.
Yeah, and that's like something I noticed, like most, either animators or people that enjoy like more streamlined narrations in their media, like they hate drawing, I mean, it depends, but they hate drawing backgrounds, and like sometimes it's vice versa, where people love drawing backgrounds, but people are gross and they hate it. So, you know, it also depends on, like, you know, people's, like, innate. And I think that's, like, you know, when you want to be closer to being an animator, you know, you're doing a lot of life drawing anyway. It's kind of more in your comfort zone. You know, ideally, if you're doing life drawing, please do life drawing. You know, and you kind of, like, study the body versus just, like, I don't know how to draw a tree. It's pointy, right? So.
But yeah, everyone
No one
has
laughed
different
at my
strengths. I giggled.
No, I immediately just started thinking of all the different types of trees there are and how
you got tree PTSD, you know. You just
I
like,
just totally zoned out. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's no generic tree. Like, a tree in Africa looks totally different than like, is it a pine tree?
Yeah, like that's what I'm like. Meanwhile, thinking of just a Twin Peaks moment of, what is that tree? Douglas firs. Douglas firs. But it's like, yeah, it's but yeah, no, and everyone, yeah, again, everybody has their own strengths, and they come to realize that after they've really tried, that they find what they like, but again, that's what I think was really cool about what you did, is that it kind of helped people figure out if they like doing what they did or if they didn't, and seeing where their strengths are. And I think that's really cool. I hadn't seen a collaboration done like that before, so I thought that was just really nice to see. And like, for projects like that, and even just in general, like, what inspired you to start, like, making and basically organizing collaborative projects?
Well, because I watched a lot of them. Like, I probably was watching all those Warrior Cats collabs,
I was gonna
say. Because the only reason I got into animation was because I saw other people doing it, and it wasn't, you know, when I grew up watching 2D movies, that was like magic to me. I would have never thought, oh, I could sit down and do that. It was just like a movie. It never even occurred to me that somebody could make animation. But then when we got Newgrounds and all of these people just making their own cartoons, and making fan art about whatever franchise and making little fan animations, that's what made me realize, like, oh, I want to try this. I want to do this too. So I did that enough, and then I saw all these collabs, and I thought, okay, well, I have all these people following me, and they clearly want to make artwork, so then I should just host a thing so that they can make artwork, and then we can all make a cool thing together, and then we can put it online. And then some of, like, the more specific ones, like that first time one, was the fact that I hear so often that people want to try animating, but they don't. So I just wanted to make a reason for them to try it. And then also, once everybody had tried it, then I had this thing that I could show everyone else to be like, hey, look at all these people who made something, and it wasn't that hard, and they did it, and you can do it too.
I believe in you.
But yeah, I love seeing collaborative projects like that, especially when you can see all the different styles put together. I still think, like, the Fly Away video is so good, just, like, seeing how many people have these different interpretations of one small segment of the song and the lyrics and what they want to do with it. Yeah, it's just, I really love going back to that one and seeing it. It's a lot of fun. And
that one's like, I think that one's the most popular one that I've hosted so far. I was kind of hoping that future ones I'd host would be just as popular, but part of the thing is that I'm always thinking, what's a new way to take these collabs and make them different? So, like, I did the one that was only people who had never animated before. I did one where it's split down the middle of the screen, and there's an animator who animates the left half and an animator who animates the right half, and they didn't know who, nobody knew what was going to be on the other side of the screen. So that one was really interesting, but that one's not nearly as popular as the Fly Away one. And honestly, part of the reason I think is because the Fly Away Multi-Animator Project has Toothless on the thumbnail. So, you know, like, again, we talked about this just 10 minutes ago about, you know, recognizing a character from the franchise versus having to create something original.
Time is a circle anyway. We keep coming back and back and back. But yeah, no, I love the split screen idea too. That was really cool. I do remember seeing that, and just it was always funny because you're like thinking how some of them like serendipitously ended up like working out like scarily well, even though I know for a fact they didn't know that they were going to be paired up.
Blind. People don't believe me when I say that. All I said was submit your part, and then I went through all of them and tried to pair them as best I could. So a lot of that is just like editing, really careful editing to make sure everybody's part matched up. But it was totally blind. Nobody knew what nobody knew what everybody else was doing at all.
That's just really cool. It was a really cool concept, and yeah, no, it was really cute to see how some people interpreted their little parts and seeing how like oh, here's a character, he's like too big for his space, and so he's trying to move around in this boxy area, and then the other one's like looking all confused at the other one like, hey, are you okay? Like kind of like it's like it worked out like really well in so many of those parts in particular, where it was like it just felt like they were meant to be put together. So good on you for pairing them up really well.
So is there any questions we haven't covered as far as like what is on the general application? So we covered like medium, and then we covered like resume-ish stuff, but like is there any other like things you specifically look for?
Let me see. Well, the newest thing that I started looking for was the type of animation, so that way I can sort the applications and specifically look at anyone doing 3D or stop motion, because I don't get a lot of people who apply, or pixel animation. Anything unusual, I usually go through those first because I want those in. And it's like a minority type of thing, too. The other thing, speaking of that, the other thing I look through is when I'm looking through people's portfolios, anybody who draws people who represent minorities in North America, I kind of target those to include them in the Multi-Animator Project. Because a lot of it is going to be, kind of typical body type and color and all this other stuff. So
look at all the white people.
Yep, I basically look for a wide variety of skills, a wide variety of representation of characters and people. So I try to get like part human and part animal, because I get a lot of people who draw animals, and I want to make sure that I get more than just the animals, right? So I look for people who are doing human characters specifically, and then like what type of human characters are they, where are they located culturally, are they different, and then different types of animation genres. So that's different. Like I'm probably a lot more intense about this stuff than the typical map. Like the typical map is going to be, let's get everyone that I've worked with before, let them pick their parts, and then I'll try to find more people. Mine is, I'm like a crazy person. And I try to organize it so that if the video is making money, that all of that money that gets made is split 46 ways, and then every artist who participates gets part of it. It's so tiny at that point, but as far as I know, I'm the only person who pays people to join collaborations.
How does that work? Do
No,
you
that's
just
good.
like, is it just AdSense, or is it like Patreon back?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
No. So how it works is, so when you put a video on YouTube, and this is why I do not use copyrighted popular music, because I can't, right? So I'll find a song that I legally am allowed to use, that's cool and fun and whatever. And then I go, okay, so this is the number of parts I have, and then I say out of 100%, we divide it by that number of parts, and then leave a little bit of extra room for me to cover the cost of organizing everything and the hours that go into that. And then at the end of, I think 3 months is what I've been doing, whatever that total amount that YouTube has paid out gets split up and sent to all the artists who sign up to get it. It's weird, okay? It's like a royalty. It's a royalty. If you know anything about how royalties work, it's basically that.
So you have to do that every 3 months, though?
No, it's a one-time thing. Because if you also know anything about YouTube, the majority of revenue a video will ever make in its lifetime is going to happen like within its immediate existence, probably within the first month. If your video fail, in fact, now that YouTube has those like that stat board when you open your back end statistics, it'll say your most recent video and how it's doing compared to the others. If it's in like ranking slot 9 out of 10 in the first hour, you already know you've made a failure of a video. Like, you can tell immediately. So that's why it's 3 months, because by then, like, all the money has been made or not, and it's over.
Yeah.
So
I feel, yeah. I was could fetch about like how no one cares about the Not Pony videos anymore, which I kind of expected to happen, and at least we still kind of do with like general IPs that people like anyway, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but like reestablishing is hard and takes time, and you work really hard on a video and then it's just like, oof.
oh yeah, I'm looking at my stats right now, and it's like I have the most recent video. It's got 4,000 views. The video from last month has 4 million views. Like, that's the huge amount of difference, right, between something that's a popular meme and something that is an educational tutorial on a subject that apparently nobody cares about, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing too that people don't realize is they think that like if you have a good amount of subscribers that everything you do will get viewed a lot, and it unfortunately doesn't work that way.
No. So if there's people listening who don't know me, I only have 250,000 subscribers, so 250,000, and like I post a video and it gets 4,000 views. I host a live stream and it gets maybe 30 viewers. Like the amount of subscribers you have on YouTube doesn't really matter anymore. I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah, that's why you make sure you guys put notifications on. That's like the only thing that really helps.
I don't even know if that helps anymore. It's like, I don't know. I'm doing a lot better mentally since I stopped caring and stopped looking at the numbers and just made videos, and like, support me on Patreon if you care. Everybody else, just watch the videos if you want to, and don't if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. I guess it also helps though, like when you have something in the back of your like or on your channel that is doing like relatively okay and it has a bunch of people on it, and be like, see, look at that, we all came together, we made this thing, and it's like doing okay. So it kind of helps people feel, in case you ever like are dealing with like new people, it helps people be like, oh well, they actually got the thing done, and like people care about it, and sometimes that doesn't happen, but
yeah, there's really no way to know.
For people
collabs always do well though. Like if you finish a collab, a nice collab, and you post it, those tend to get well received because all the people who are participated want to share it too. So that helps.
So how do you usually divide this I guess the song comparatively? So like, is it like, do you have a certain time length, or you kind of like listen to the song and see like mathematically like what would be a good
that would be an
thing?
Awful way to do it. So usually I've done it a couple of different ways. So you take the song you want. Usually I break it into very small segments, let's say 3 to 5 seconds, because it's animating is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hours. And when people are doing something on a volunteer basis, you really don't want to give them this huge chunk, because you'll get exactly what we talked about, which is people who, I can't do this. I signed up and I wanted to do it, but this thing came up, and I need to actually survive. I can't spend 60 hours animating a 2-minute thing for your collab, right?
Yeah.
So I break it up usually 3 to 5 second segments, and from the songs that I've used, that works pretty well. But I listen for natural breaks in the song when I'm making parts like that. The other way I've done it is I take the beat of the song, like that, beats per minute, and then say, okay, everybody's going to make a part, and it's going to be exactly this many frames, or like exactly this long, either way. And so then that allows me to take the parts that are made and locate them wherever I want in the song. And I think the other way I've done it is just make an animated loop, and I will do the editing and make things look cool to the music.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do it, and yeah, I think that's the most, especially when you're doing it with a song, that helps incredibly so because of the rhythm and because of the BPM. And I was wondering if there are any other maps in the works, or ones that you'd like to do one day. Like, what are there songs, maybe longer songs or sequences? Like I've seen so many people try to do like whole freaking like Les Mis length musical numbers for these kinds of things.
I mean, like with the amount of people that want to participate in these type of things, yeah, I could do a really long one, but again, my issue is always copyright stuff, which is that, so I can't, anybody who's doing this for a hobby is free to just take whatever music or thing, movie scene or whatever they want, but I want to be making money off of this. So I really have to find audio and stuff that is legal for me to use. So I'm limited in that way. But as far as other collabs,
covers something like that you can work with it depending on that.
The thing with covers is that I'd have to get a license from the person who did the cover to begin with, A.
Yeah.
And then B, YouTube would not have to decide, oh, that's a cover and we're giving half of the money to the person who wrote the original song, because they do that now, right?
That's
like
true.
Covers, they've decided that covers are not fully original things, and so if the owner of the song itself finds out you've done a cover, they can copyright claim to receive some of the ad revenue off of your video.
That's true.
So I just, again, it's like trying to really balance the originality versus using popular stuff people recognize, because I guess more paranoid about this than the average person. Like I really don't want to have to put up with YouTube's garbage. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
Mood.
So I don't put clips from shows. If I do put clips from shows in my tutorials, I really mess with them. It's annoying. Like we shouldn't have to do that, but with the automated detection system, even if it's fair use, when you get caught, then you have to fill the paperwork explaining why it is fair use. And I've had all this blah blah blah, all this crazy legal stuff in the background that hopefully none of you will ever have to worry about. But yeah, if we go back to the question about other collabs I've been wanting to host, I have a list, and I was going to start one up this year, but it just didn't happen, because you can get really burned out organizing people, especially when it's not a team that you're always working with. When every time I'm inviting new artists in, it's just a lot of work.
It's getting used to working with fresh faces,
strangers,
and just like trying to figure out everybody and their dynamic, and it's a lot.
I'm trying to dig up, because I do have a whole list of them. I don't know if I want to talk about the things that I was thinking of doing, because they're interesting and different. And unless I'm going to actually do it, I try not to talk about it. Like,
that's fair.
I guess if that makes any sense. Like, I don't care if people know, but I just don't. If I talk about it, I lose the motivation to actually make it.
No, that's fair. I mean, I guess if there's maybe even a general idea of something that you thought of, or even had a fleeting thought of doing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought about doing the tutorial for one on how to host collabs, because I get asked that question a lot. I also have a video titled Top 10 Mistakes People Make When Joining Collabs. So that was something I thought of doing, because, like, top 10 videos or whatever.
Got a YouTube algorithm, yeah.
I know, the stupid algorithm and the stupid thumbnails and everything's dumb, but whatever. We gotta play the game. I'm here to play the game. YouTube wants me to play the game, I will. Jeez, where did I have that list? Ideas, multi-animator projects. Because I had a friend and I we were doing like a separate podcast, and we came up with this whole list of things. But using like a server to have people bounce ideas back off each other, or like make their parts together so they can see what's going on. We had a really weird one where it's like one artist would do all the line art and another artist would color it.
Wow.
Oh yes, a telephone multi-animator project where everybody animates what the person before them animated. And then what is the last animation going to look like compared to the first one, right?
Oh, that's cool.
I want to do that one.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
We had a similar idea, which is it's a telephone collab. Each person makes, you make your part, and then the next person, all they get is the last frame, and they have to go from there. And then that's how you do it. You chain them off each other like that. So those are just some examples of things I wanted to do. Maybe I'll have the energy for it next year.
When things aren't on fire.
I mean, honestly,
think that'd be a lot of fun to join.
Like, this year would have been a great time to do something like that. I used to host a digital convention, and then ironically, the year we decided not to do it, it's like people needed it. I'm like, no, I'm done hosting these projects. I just need to chill for a second and do things that I want to do. So,
yeah.
do you have any horror stories too about like people that maybe you can dance around like names if you're just like I don't want to.
No, but finish people that what specifically? I have lots of horror stories. Oh,
people who turn out to be like buttholes, or they're like entitled, or just like fun things like that where you're just like, what are you doing?
Fun.
This is like
fun, she says. God. I haven't really had any problems. The most entitlement problems I have is with myself. My gosh, am I such an entitled jerk? No, usually the biggest problem I have is just with people getting their stuff done on time. Like, some people, they wait until the last minute, and my God, the collab I joined recently, I'm so sorry, Daria. I wanted to get it done in the first week, and then it just didn't get done until the week before the deadline. Still got done before the deadline, but I like to get my stuff in earlier in case I have, my computer crashes and I need to buy a new part and the animation is just stuck and can't.
It's also like nice, like, oh, I got this thing done early for you, so you don't have to worry about like one less thing,
Yeah, one less thing. But no, I had a bunch of commissions come in, so I kind of had to focus on those.
Yeah.
Collab horror stories. Oh, there was this one time. No.
Oh, there we go.
I was gonna say there was this one time I made this big long animated skit about a horse thing and sent it to somebody and they needed it right away, and then it took 1.5 years for them to get the project out. We don't know who that is. I mean, I've never.
She's talking about me. So yeah, that's how like I first met Crowne, is like I think we enjoyed each other's work, and I think I probably put
before that,
yeah, I probably put like Clone High segments and like some of the really early stuff, and she's like, oh, it's that thing that I like. So I like I think she made like silly fan art sometimes, and then I was like, hey, we're doing this big thing about this for this guy that will hopefully see it one day. You want to do this segment? And she's like, but I need it like super soon, because if not, then I'm afraid it won't never get done, because I didn't know what I was doing. And you were like, sure. And then I think you got it done like within a month or something like that. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. Now I gotta manage all the other stuff that happens.
I know. So that's the same thing. Like, we're talking about managing projects. If you're making a big, what did it end up being? Was it 20 minutes? Was it?
Yeah, it was like I can check.
It was like a 20-minute special, okay? That is going to take you 1 year to make, at least. I don't know how long it ended up taking.
Yeah,
so,
about
here's
that.
Here's me not knowing any better, like, oh my gosh, she needs it right now. I'm going to get it done right now. So I get it done super early, and then, of course, we're waiting for, like, the tough team project, accurately animated stuff, and it's just, nah.
I mean, I did get it done. It just took like.
It did get done. This is the difference, though. It did get done.
Yeah. So, I have like tons of horror stories from that, but mostly people.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, mostly people like not like wanting to really do the work and just being like, oh, this sounds like a fun idea in theory, and then I'm like, hey, what about that thing? And they're like, well, I have stuff that's going on in my life, and I'm like. Okay, well, then...
Yeah.
I remember...
That's what happens with volunteer projects. Yep.
I remember specifically, I think we were working on the song when we'd finished the opening segment before the song, and I was like, the song still wasn't ready, and I was like, not yelling, but like firm talking, and I was like, yo, musician dude, like, you're supposed to know what you're doing, like, how are the animators working faster than you?
That's bad. I've not like. How does the music not get done before the animation? That's crazy to me.
Well, it was the pre-animation, so it wasn't things that were so it wasn't the actual segment, and they were not like they were just animating blind. So it was like the dialogue and stuff before and the establishing shots. So it was stuff that could
if you have one person who needs to make a piece of music versus a team of 20 disjointed volunteer animators, and the disjointed volunteer animators are getting done before the one person who needs to make one piece of music, things are a little wonky.
Yeah, so, it was great. And then, like, because the other stuff is just, like, because, I was just like, I need everyone, like, let me just, like, talk to people, or just let me just get as much people as I could. So, like, I would be like finding people on YouTube and being like, hey, I see
Oh,
that you can
wow.
animate like a horse. Can you animate my horse for this thing? That will be great. And, senpai will notice me eventually and it'll be great. So, and then it was just kind of like, no, this is not the me podcast, but I guess I have the worst stories. But,
That's not something to brag about.
I mean, cause like, I guess, I also do like I tend to do more untraditional stuff versus just like, everyone gets a segment and everyone, goes from there. It's just like sharing like puppet assets and making sure like, especially like when things like, we did a loop for the podcast YouTube channel with 2D and like everything was for the most part on model, but it's kind of teaching people how to be on model for like, because that's when you get a lot of fan artists who are just used to drawing in their own style and they're just like, it's fine, and then you have to draw a specific way, like, it's actually really hard comparatively, and you have to really practice, and you think if you've seen the character 1,000,005 times, like it'll be fine, like a Disney character, but it's sometimes it's not. So it's stuff like that for people who are like, they know how to do the thing, but maybe not the thing specifically the way you want it to be. So but yeah, like early on, for John Delancey, it was a lot of just like, or like animators who wanted to be like my friend and would try to vent to me about like regular stuff, which is fine. But like it got to the point where it was just like, hey, I can't be like, I'm just running this project. I can't be your
You
therapist.
have 40 people trying to vent to you. I know what that's like. I mean, like trying to split up friend time with everyone. It's like, you guys, if you don't stop getting me to play Among Us, we're never gonna feel like I can't. If I'm playing Among Us with you, no art is happening. Like, it's very simple. Stop inviting me to play, because I will play, because it's fun.
Yeah, and then it was like the thing in my back of the back of my head is like when they had all this social time, but their stuff wasn't getting done. And I'm just like, and they're just like, "Hey, P, you want to talk?" And I'm like, I want to punch you in the face, but like not really. But
No.
It's just like, but you like,
Where's your stuff? We'll talk
your...
after your stuff's done, buddy.
You come into my house and you don't get your work done. So that was a fun learning experience. But like for the most part,
yeah,
the most part it came out pretty okay. But it was a lot of, and then the other thing I learned, which is something I'm like that is continually being enforced into me, is like there's a lot of toxic people that like horses. So like when they
or anything. My gosh, did I learn that lesson really hard like last month. Jeez,
there's unfortunately just bad eggs everywhere, and they're
bad eggs,
and it's always the worst when it seems like those few bad eggs seem to spoil the whole batch for everybody else. And it's just like we always have to go on like damage control, like, no, this is just like 1 or 2 people compared to the majority that are not this.
No, it's like being a director and managing people is hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
But as far as hosting collabs, like doing it is a good way to learn. You learn a lot. And I find that if you keep your project and your collab simple, that avoids a lot of the drama.
Right.
If the more simple your project is, the more easy it is for people to get their parts done and submitted, and for you to create whatever collab thing you want to make without having a fight over religion or politics or world events, blah, 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 gosh.
Yeah,
I haven't had that. I've had
a
a
good
lot
phrase
of
to follow.
I've had a lot of people who aren't vocal about like problems, and they end up gossiping about it without telling me, and then it just like builds and builds and builds.
Then just someday, eventually, I hosted a server for a while, and only now, 5 years later, my friends are like, oh my gosh, we would go in the back room with just the admins, and the stuff that happened, and I was not aware of some of the things happening in my own server.
Oh my god.
Because my moderators handled it. So I'm like, nope, done with public servers, never doing that again.
Yeah, you get some tricks and some spaghettis, and at least like at least in the like in you have some control versus just talking to random people, because like that's why YouTubers in general like are afraid to talk to random people without like they're if they're not doing something similar to what they're doing, is you just kind of, you don't know who you can get, and you don't know when you're going to be secretly recorded, and it's a lot of like,
I mean, at this point, anything I say is screen capped and saved in somebody's. I know I know 10 years down the road, I'm going to be doing blah, 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 my own business. Somebody's going to be like, look at all these screen caps of things you said 10 years ago, taken out of context. It's going to happen. I'm so weak. I can't handle it.
It's like,
It's
just
not
wanna get
fun.
through my life, please.
I just want everybody to like me. I mean, wow, how hard can it be? It's actually
just wanna-
impossible, so.
That's just like, I just want to live, man. Why you
I
gotta be
know.
like this?
Gosh, I just want to make nice art and tutorials that teach people how to make art and like let them make their own art and tell their own stories. Ah.
Basically, hurt people. That's how I see it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's somebody's got a bone to pick with everybody, then it's because they got a bone to pick with themselves.
Or a lot of times it's people that aren't, sorry to interrupt, but like a lot of times it's people who aren't used to talking to like a huge chunk. They're usually just like Joe on an island, who lives with his mom or something like that, and like maybe he interacts with actual people at conventions once a year, but then he talks to a lot of people online, and because of that, like a lot of times you don't know, you're not being, well, maybe he does know, he isn't, but a lot of times some people just don't know how to be PC, and they just don't know because they've never been in an environment where that is like a factor in how people view them, and please, like, don't like especially if you're doing like a fan thing, like a warrior cat thing, like we keep on saying, like, please don't debate your religious views.
Like, we're doing fan stuff to have fun, so
Yeah.
I don't understand why you have to be so angry.
Yeah, that's what it says. I came here for a good time, and I'm honestly feeling so attacked right now. Or we're gonna
Yes,
bring back that one.
Yep. If I'm here making good stuff for people, and you're gonna make me feel bad, then I just won't make stuff anymore. But that's
gonna hide
probably
in
what
my
they
hole.
want. So you can't let them win. Don't let them win.
You can't
So-
let the trolls win.
Yeah. So, from personal experience, it's not fun. And then everyone's just like, we don't like this person. And just like, no, it's not because of the internet. It's not because of what 4chan says. Like, so anyway, my other point is like, if you're having problems with the project, especially maybe if it's like there's something that's going on, or like maybe your project manager is communicating well, please, like, ideally go talk to them in a way that's constructive and not just be like, you're not doing this job, but like, hey, I don't know what you mean when you want me to do this, and I just want to make sure it's good and no one gets mad at me, and so a lot of like I've said this before, but like when you're working on something, especially over the internet, there can be so much miscommunication going on. So like try to be as clear as possible.
Communication is key.
So
in relationships too, and in love. So
And
if you're gonna be good at
everything
those
in
things,
life.
learn to talk.
So
Yeah, so it's like, so if you can't talk to other people and you can't be civil about it, just
And
please
you can't, tell your
educate yourself
boyfriend or
on how to be
girlfriend,
better on that. Just like, that's why it's like so many problems could be avoided if people talked.
Yeah, it's life is complicated.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's why, like, we, like, on our end, we still do, like, voice call meetings that are mandatory so people can talk to each other and, like, talk out issues, because it also turns out to be a lot faster than going through text, too, than just, like...
Yeah, that is true.
Like, than taking, like, an hour and a half to try to figure out this thing versus just, like, going in a call and screen sharing and, like... Especially when people are learning something or whatever. Anyway, so Crowne, like, so what would you, I guess we'll end or kind of sort of end before we go into tangents. So what would you advise people who want to, like, maybe join a map project, depending on, like, I guess, like, gear it to people that are experienced and not, and then, like, general advice besides things we already talked about, like, maybe someone who wants to host one or, like, host a baby one or something like that.
Okay, I guess I'll like, those are a lot of questions. And
Yeah,
I'm going to
so
forget
those
them
are
all.
3
So let's
questions.
start with the first one.
Okay.
Or I guess to wrap this up, I'll just say that if you want to participate in a collab, the first thing you should be doing is making, like, your own artwork or your own memes, like the animation memes that are kind of popular. Just something to put on your channel so you get practice making, the animation if you haven't done it yet. So then when you want to join one, you could say, oh, well, here's some stuff that I made. So they can tell, oh, this person knows what they're doing. They know how to make parts. They'll get them done. You don't even need to be a good quote unquote artist. You just need to be able to make something that's finished. That's actually the most important thing, is finishing your thing on time. And I'm speaking from a director's standpoint when I say that. Getting your stuff done on time. At least for me, that's the most important. Like, I don't care if I'm going to get an amazing animation 2 months late. I don't want that. I would rather have a decent, okay animation that's done on time. So, yeah, make some of your stuff, post it, share it. Pay attention to artists who host collabs frequently. Like, if you go through YouTube and look for them, you'll find them. Just subscribe to them and see how they organize their projects and what type of things they do. Like, some people do warrior cats projects and they only have cats in them. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And then once you start joining them, you probably will start to get a good sense of other people who are making stuff, and you can subscribe to them and you can start talking. You can follow their social media. And you start building up a base of people you know. Hosting is a little different. It's a little more complicated. I will try to get a tutorial done on that. I've been saying I'm going to do it for like a year. Eventually it'll happen. But yeah, that has to do with what we talked about, like the applications and finding the base of people you're going to talk to about participating and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the base thing is just make sure you're practicing if that's like something you want to do. Yeah. Like, even if it's just regular art, it doesn't have to necessarily be animation, but like animation helps. But like, you know, at least if you have art somewhere, then you're like, yay, I can do a thing. I can, you know, so that's kind of like my, like, I thought quarantine would make me more creative so I can like start actually getting my professional portfolio ready. And like, it turned out to be the opposite of that, where I just want to sleep and have depression naps all day.
Me
It's
too.
fine.
I've slept so much now. I don't know what my problem is. Oh, too much sleeping. I'm trying to get back on schedule, but it's just so nice to lay there and do nothing.
Yeah, like I have my whole like KP fucked up like little like corner with my candles and my therapy, my aromatherapy inhalers, and like, you know, it's great.
I'd never leave bed. My gosh, no.
No, like if you want, like, all that stuff is really great, and it's helpful, especially if you know, depending on the level of fucked up, but like, it's still nice just to have like a nice candle and be like, yay, I can breathe in a way that is like nice and pretty. Anyway, this is really off topic. So, Crowne, where can people find you on the internet if they want to see your stuff and hear you talk about all sorts of things?
Oh gosh, okay. If you want to hear more of my lovely voice, the best place to go is probably just to my website, which is crowneprints.horse. Don't laugh. That is literally what it is. CROWNE prints.horse. And then off of that, when you go there, there's a bar at the top. Or, I mean, it just says contact. If you click contact, all my social media is there, and then you can get to my Instagram or my YouTube or my Twitter or my DeviantArt. I haven't been using Twitch, but blah. All that stuff's there. My email's there. Or same deal if you go to scribblekibble.com, because that's the tutorial series and the series that talks about how to animation and how animation works. Scribblekibble.com is the place to go for that.
Neat. There was something I wanted to end on, but then I forgot it. So, yeah, I guess if you want Crowne to come back to, please like yell in the comments, or if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, I guess like favorite. What do people even do like on SoundCloud or Spotify? Like they rate it 5 stars or something, and
yeah, pretty much rate it 5 stars.
Like, we've been on iTunes this whole time. We got like 3 reviews, and I'm just like, we're up to like episode like 40 or something, and I'm just like, I love you guys, but like, I mean, it's always from YouTube, so it's fine.
Yeah,
that's where all the pretty,
always the YouTube crowd.
That's where all the pretty animation loops are that people can zone out. I'll end that. We had a Christmas animation loop, and I put in the background for Christmas music as we were eating dinner, and my dad walks by the TV, and he's like, hey, that kind of looks like you. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, because it is me. And he's like, oh, okay, that's neat. So, you know, human me has kind of replaced horse me as my own mascot, which makes things complicated. So I promise it's not an ego thing. Anyway, so yeah, thanks Crowne for coming, and sorry we had to reschedule this like 5 million times. So.
All right, yay. And hopefully this year will suck less.
I'm hoping. And then I guess I'll say a thing too. So we're gonna, like, whenever we get it organized, but I'm gonna wait till like we make sure it's pretty first. So we'll be doing our first reanimated. We're doing Treasure Planet, yay! So we're doing the song sequence. So if you're into that, then we'll probably get social media up after Christmas, but I want to make sure like everything's pretty solid and we got like a nice pretty logo before we launch things. And then I'm like, I don't know what to do with all these people. Where do they go? So
also relevant segue from multi-animator projects.
Yeah,
It's like it was done on purpose or something, maybe.
Yeah, so if you want to join one, there's your chance. Go do it.
I mean, yeah, or you can join like one that's for newer people, because I will judge you harshly and like eat my popcorn. No, don't be afraid. All right. Yeah. So I guess. Thanks for listening, guys. We have a bunch of episodes on all the places. I think. Yeah, we're pretty high up at this point. I think we just touched 40 or 5-ish. Or, I don't know. I never count. So you got plenty of
We've done a lot.
We got plenty of feedback, or not feedback, episodes. So if you like this one, we got art for beginners that you can listen to if you don't know how to art or want some art tips, and like animation principles with Pete. And then we got, what was another one? I think the team.
I mean, we even got a ton of like industry people with us. I mean, we had Tony and Scott for Animal
that
Crackers.
was neat.
We had we basically had everybody from like Tangled the series, because we had Chris Sonnenberg to talk about Tangled the series. We had Steven Silver talking about his work on Kim Possible and Danny Phantom and all that stuff. So we got industry professionals up there too.
Yeah, whatever
to talk,
whatever.
And that was fun too.
And if you don't like any of that, I guess you can listen to the fun ones where we talk about like Christmas specials or something. I don't know. Okay, well, thanks again, Crowne, for coming, and I guess we'll see you guys metaphorically next episode. Like, comment, subscribe, I guess.
Hit that bell. If you're on YouTube anyway, so.
Yeah, just kill me, it's fine.
And since, at least as of posting this is probably just going to be either, I don't know, before Christmas. I don't know if this is going to be.
Yeah, I said after Christmas.
After Christmas, but within 2020, I am assuming at this point. I hope everybody has a happy new year going forward from here. Here's to 2021 being better, please.
Please get the vaccine. Like, do you remember how bad polio was? It was pretty bad. So, I'm pretty sure it's fine. So, not that I personally would. Stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, wash your hooves, whatever. Okay, we can end.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.